Hey guys, welcome back to part 3 of our series where I turn an old shed into a workshop. If you haven't seen the first two parts of this series, I had moved an old shed from my dad's property. It's an 8 by 12 shed, and I'm going to be using it as a workshop for the foreseeable future, just to give me a place to work on some projects outside during the wintertime and have some heat and just a dedicated workspace just to keep working on some projects. So I'm going to leave a link in the cards to the first two parts and the entire playlist if you want to check those out. But I'm just going to continue on with this video. This is going to be the last one in this series. It's just kind of a final wrap up here. Um, in the first two parts, I worked on repairing the shed and getting the structure sound and the foundation leveled, and then I also did the exterior. In this video, I'm going to be tackling the interior of the shed, and it was a little interesting because it started to get pretty cold during this process, so I had tried out a couple different heaters while I was working inside, and it actually got pretty warm inside, so that's encouraging. But I just went through and I didn't film any footage of doing the electrical, but I put in a few outlets where I thought would be uh, sufficient and added some electrical boxes for lighting. But basically all I did was I just threw in a bunch of insulation. I think I used R15. Everything is 2x4 construction for the exterior walls and even for the roof joists. Again, this is an 8 by 12 shed, so that's not uncommon. I could have gone with R19, but I think the cost difference was substantial, and I don't think that it's really going to make that big of a difference. Like I said, it's so small, and with a decently sized heater, it gets pretty warm in there. So I threw in all the insulation and started. I decided to put up wall paneling for the whole interior, and I found this white beadboard paneling. I think it's like 1/8 of an inch thick, but I wanted something that was really light in there, so that way it can help with the lighting for future videos, and also just to have a more pleasant atmosphere. I know it's going to get dinged up and marked up from projects, and it's not going to stay that clean and white forever, but at least in the meantime it looks nice. Originally I had wanted to do the whitewashed tongue and groove that we did in our house. We chose basswood just because it was a lighter colored wood and it would accept the whitewash a little better. But I think the cost difference, again, it was going to be probably like $1,500 just for the tongue and groove. And it took me quite a while to actually put it all in for the house, and I wasn't really looking forward to doing that again. So I thought that doing the paneling would be quick and easy. The ceiling turned out to be a bit of a challenge, even though the stuff is pretty light. Trying to hold it above my head and tack it into place was kind of a challenge. I was a little bit surprised by that. I expected it to go a little bit easier, but I'm glad that I didn't choose anything heavier. I debated about putting drywall up for the whole interior, and I really just didn't want to mess with it. I'm a pretty crappy taper and mudder. I did a lot of taping and mudding in our old house, and it didn't turn out too well. I know they say that practice makes perfect, but I had no desire to do that again. So the paneling works well for me, and I know it's not the greatest quality, but again, this is just a workshop, so I'm happy with the results. Now, working in this small space, I quickly realized how much space is actually a premium. you know, just having a few bats of insulation in the shed, getting ready to go, and then a shop vac and some various other tools, my floor space got eaten up pretty quick. So that's a good reminder for me as I'm thinking about the layout for where I'm going to place my workbench and where I'm going to have some tools stored, just to be able to make sure that I have enough workable space left to move some pieces around, or just to be able to get around in the actual workshop is going to be a bit of a challenge. I'm excited for the opportunity that this shop is going to provide for us, but there are going to be some challenges, namely the space. I had quite a bit of a difficult time just moving things around constantly, trying to make sure that I had enough space to move the air compressor or, you know, move the shop vac around. And it's nice too. One positive is that there's a lot less space to clean up, so it does get dirty and cluttered quicker, but I can also clean it faster. So there's going to be some unique challenges with this shop, and I'm looking forward to it, but it's just something important for me to keep in mind as I start to plan the layout for it. Once the ceiling was done, the walls went quite a bit quicker. Not having to hold it above my head made a considerable difference. Like I said, the stuff is really light, but just holding it above my head, for some reason, it was a bigger challenge than I thought it was going to be. So it was refreshing to be able to work on the walls, and that went really quick. The only thing that slowed me down really was uh, cutting out the receptacle boxes, so that way the paneling would fit around it, but that wasn't too big an issue. I got all the wall paneling up pretty quickly after that, and then all I really had to do was put up some trim. I didn't put any baseboard or anything up, but I wanted to put some corner trim in to cover the gaps, and then I also went around underneath the loft on the bottom side. I put some trim up there where there was a gap between the paneling and the loft support, just to kind of cover up some of that void space and make it look a little bit more finished. For this, I just ripped a whole bunch of 3/4 inch select pine. It's nothing fancy, but it looks a lot better and a whole lot more complete once that's done. Then the last thing I had to do was just get started on the trim and jambs for the windows and doors. And again, for this, I just use select pine with basic butt joints. I know a lot of people like the miter joints for windows, but I tend to like the butt joints. This is what I did for all the windows and doors in my house. And I don't know, I just kind of like the simplistic look of it. I know it doesn't look professional, but that's just my preference. So for this application, it worked out just fine. Wrapping that up, that's pretty much all that was left. Finishing those, I just left them unfinished. Again, this is a shed, and now it's a shop. So I'm not too concerned about it, and I think it's going to look just fine. So that's going to wrap up this video and the conclusion of our series of building a workshop from a small shed. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I am super pumped to have a workspace now that it is officially winter, full of snow, and very cold. I'm pumped to have the opportunity to work on some other projects again, even though the weather may not be the greatest. So, please remember to like and subscribe, and if you have any questions or comments, please leave me a note in the comment section below. As always, thanks for watching.